guess we ought to reflect that this poll was before, this mess that Liz Truss got into over the pay conditions for civil servants and others outside Westminster.
Yeah, morning both. Hi. Well, there's a lot of polls flying around at the moment. I saw one just the other day that said that Rishi was just 5 points behind. And then there was another poll that said he's leading with Conservative councillors, which turned out to be the only poll that was accurate back in 2019 when we last had a leadership election. So there's tons of numbers flying around. But really, today is a really exciting day for me because we have our hustings down in Cardiff, where both candidates will answer questions from members in Wales. And that is what I am hugely looking forward to. I want a Prime Minister who is going to value Wales, respect Wales, work closely with the Welsh Government, put an end to some of their crazier policies. So I'm really looking forward to what happens this evening. And the only poll that matters is the one that we hear the results of on September the 5th.
Yeah, and look, Rishi Sunak will need to do a lot to make up that ground if the YouGov poll is to be believed. And hopefully he will be trying to make capital, one would assume, from your point of view, on, as Mark described it, as the mess being made by Liz Truss yesterday. And also the fact that there's been this delay to voting by a week following on the concerns of possible hacking that GCHQ have flagged. Now, that could really play into Rishi Sunak's hands.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that yesterday's poll really does not reflect the experience that I'm having at the moment in talking to members across the country. Things are much, much tighter. A lot of undecideds out there as well. And as soon as I talk them through Rishi's plans, I'm finding a lot of voters swinging towards us. So, I think there's all to play for. We're fighting for every single vote. I do think this contest is going to be quite tight. And just on the security, I think it's really important that CCHQ takes the security of this process incredibly seriously. So I'm pleased there's just a short delay, but it doesn't affect the timing of the result.
Bigger picture, you are MP for Brecon and Radnorshire. It's not just about, of course, the party leadership. It's about a new Prime Minister. Are you really likely to make inroads with Labour and Plaid in Wales, given the economic circumstances at the moment?
Well, I think so. Rishi has the track record, having stewarded the economy through the pandemic, wrapped his arms around millions of people in this country with the furlough scheme. 11,000 jobs in my constituency were saved because of the furlough scheme that Rishi designed. And my constituents do recognise that. And we had a hustings just a couple of weeks ago, organised by the Conservative Union Research Group. And Rishi was clearly the winner of that debate because he knew far more about Wales, to put it bluntly. He was really concerned about some of the policies that the Welsh Government is putting together with support from Plaid Cymru. So I think the fact that he is much more well-versed, much more aware of what goes on in Wales. He also has a lot more MPs and members of the Welsh Parliament backing him. So I think, personally, in terms of what my constituents are looking for, they are looking for a leader who's going to be able to take the fight to Labour and to Plaid and to the Liberal Democrats, and that's Rishi.
Heavily criticised for his involvement in bringing down Boris Johnson. Lots of people seeing him as disloyal. Lots of people saying that has been the fatal problem for him in his leadership campaign. But he has always defended it as a matter of integrity, and he's said that he is guided by that very much. I wonder whether or not his conscience will be pricked at all, given the stuff that we've been talking about all morning in terms of the international concerns at the moment, the fact that there are problems going on in Ukraine, there are problems going on in Taiwan.
And there's no government.
There's no government. Prime Minister off on holiday and the Foreign Secretary at hustings tonight. Given that his campaign is stalling, is there a moral argument that perhaps he should look at himself and say, perhaps I should allow a coronation of Liz Truss and let government start to function and the country be guided through these difficult times?
Well, I think that would be denying Conservative Party members something that they deserve, quite frankly. I think we've done that in the past and it hasn't worked. The last thing I want is for us to be here in another few years' time. We need to elect not just a leader, but a Prime Minister. And, I think of all of the candidates that we have had throughout this long race, there is no one who can match Rishi for his integrity. And I really do believe that. I also couldn't serve in government during that period in early July, I also stepped down. And, like all of us, I was really proud to support Boris Johnson and as Prime Minister. He achieved a huge amount. And Rishi has talked quite consistently about everything that he achieved as part of the Prime Minister's government. But we reached a point where the situation became untenable and something had to be done. I respect Rishi for putting his principles before his career. And I think, that's the mark of the man. He will say something that is difficult because he thinks it's more important to be honest than to get you on side. I think that is what we need from a leader. We need someone who is going to be upfront about the massive challenges we face, whether they're economic or foreign policy. We need someone to be clear and straightforward with us, and someone who will say something that is unpopular, but it's what we need to hear. I think, let's not go for someone who promises you the moon on a stick. Let's go for someone who is honest, upfront, and prepared to face the challenges that are coming towards us.
Faye Jones, thank you very much. And for our Welsh viewers, diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Very impressive.
Croeso, diolch.